Hello everyone, this is Douglas Hall. I'm back. This is back on my channel, Chosan Night. I'm here to do something a little bit different. I'm actually here to talk about one of my favorite franchises of all time. In fact, probably or at least the top 5, which is Star Wars. But I'm going to be talking about something a little interesting with Star Wars. I'm going to be talking about Asian influences in Star Wars. Even though my primary focus is East Asia, and I'm going to be talking about East Asian influences in Star Wars, but I'll take all of Asia in general. There are so many things in Star Wars that it's hard for me to keep an eye on for, but I do know at least several major examples that I can pop out to you guys. So why don't we just go ahead and get started, and I will let you guys know and let me know what you guys think, and please subscribe to the channel and of course on my social medias and all that. So alright, let's get started. Okay, a couple of the very iconic or noticeable ones of East Asian influences is actually in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So one of the very iconic characters in their attire is, I would have to say, Padme Amidala when she was Queen of Naboo in Episode 1. Particularly the very first outfit we saw her in that Natalie Portman was wearing, which is that big long red dress with that headdress and her face makeup. Where that came from, that is the Qing Dynasty, which existed from 1644 to 1912. Although the Qing Dynasty was a little bit earlier than that in their time period. But anyway, so that is from all the whatever Qing Dynasty attire clothes that they wear, particularly of the Manchu royalty, or even that of Mongolian clothes from the Qing Dynasty time. Even the makeup too, like how she had red lipstick all the way across her upper lip, but only a little bit right here in the center. So again, that's from the Qing Dynasty. Now the other noticeable East Asian influence in Star Wars Episode 1 is during the Senate scene, particularly the senator delegation from the Trade Federation. Not the senator himself, but rather his 2 aides sitting in that platform. If you noticed on one of those guys, or their clothing, particularly the shoulder and chest pads here and their hats, it actually looks like all Qing Dynasty attire, especially the hat. I mean, that's pretty much it's pretty much noticeable if anyone who watched anything in Chinese history or looked that up. But like, if you can see for yourself, that yeah, it's from the Qing Dynasty, particularly the political or the military uniforms, but especially the political uniforms back then at the time. Another Asian influence in general is even Russia, for example, which is Russia. Russia is actually a mix of European and Asia, but take a look at the Russian Caucasus, and then take a look at the First Order uniforms. If you notice how they got the 2 cylinders on their chest here, that's reminiscent of Russian Cossacks, particularly the Russian Empire Caucasus. So that's one Asian influence. Another influence of the First Order from the Star Wars sequels is I think it's the First Order uniforms of lower ranks, particularly if you notice their hats. I think I noticed it in Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, where their hats was like kind of pointy, and then there's some sort of like covering like all the way down where it meets with their necks. I'm pretty sure that's reminiscent of Imperial Japanese Army uniforms, at least during World War II. So that's another Asian, specifically East Asian influence. Another East Asian influence is actually the planet Scarif in Star Wars Rogue One. From what I understand, the director noticed, particularly from the crew, that how George Lucas borrowed inspirations, particularly the various war theaters during World War II, and how the Pacific Front was never used, or the Pacific War was never used before. So they decided to bring back, or bring in whatever they got from the Pacific War into Star Wars, and that's how the Planet of Scarif. Like, I think it's particularly the Southeast Asia area, because that's where I think that's where a lot of the influence comes from, and all the battles that took place during the Pacific Theater. And maybe a little bit of China as well, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure that's what they got the idea from for the Planet Scarif. And I think there was, oh yes, there is. I don't know if this is coincidence, but I happen to think it's a perfect example of it. This may not have been an influence, but it's definitely an interesting coincidence of comparison, which is the very first episode in the 3D Clone Wars TV show, where Master Yoda is seeking to use a Republic base on a neutral territory held by King Kotoko of Tordaria. What is this similar to? Believe it or not, this is actually very similar to Korea's late Chosun Dynasty and the short-lived Korean Empire prior to the Japanese annexation in 1910. King Kotoko was in a way to Emperor Kojong, or at the time when he was still King Kojong of Chosun, but I think more likely that similarity is actually better suited for his wife, who was the true power of the late Chosun Dynasty, which is Myeongsong Hwanghu, or Empress Myeongsong. Because, like I said, she was the true power. She actually knew what she was doing at the time. And so, if King Kotoko and Tordaria is similar to late Chosun Dynasty Korea, then the Republic would be similar to that of the Russian Empire, because the Republic later became the Galactic Empire, and thus the Russian Empire eventually became the Soviet Union, and the Separatists would in turn be similar to that of the Japanese Empire. So that may not have an influence. It could have just been a coincidence, but that's what it is for that. And I'm pretty sure that's all of the major examples I could think of East Asian influences in Star Wars. And as you know, history does have a role in the modern day, in the future, especially in entertainment, as this pointed out. So what do you guys think? Just let me know in the comments, okay? And I hope to make more videos soon. So I'll see you guys next time. Remember, this is my channel, Chosun Nights.